Let's get it together. Guys, before we start, I want to share a content warning. We have been talking about death recently, and we're going to talk to another spouse whose husband died in the line of duty. And if this makes you uncomfortable, or you're not in a place where you think you can listen or watch, that is okay. Protect your peace. Come back to it another day. It's okay. It's more important to take care of yourself and listen and watch when you're ready. With that, welcome back. I am your host, Audra. So like I said, today's episode is about unexpected loss. We talk about this too much, but the reality is this is our spouse's line of business, and unfortunately it comes with a huge risk. And there are people out there who have experienced loss firsthand, and an LODD specifically. I'm going to try to get this out and not cry. But if we cry, that's okay too. It's real life. So I am honored to be joined today by Rachael Heard, the widow of Captain Kyle Heard, Rancho Adobe Fire Protection District. Kyle served his community for over 2 decades. He was with the department for 21 years. But beyond the badge, he was deeply loved by his family and his fire service family. So we're going to talk to Rachael today about grief, widowhood, and the human process that really starts after death. So let's get into it with Rachael. Again, if at any time you get uncomfortable, you need to stop, press pause, come back later. Let's go. Hi, Rachael.
Hello.
It is nice to meet you through screens.
Same.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm glad the holidays are over. We made it through the second holiday solo, and I'm glad it's over. Ready to start the new year and move on and do new big things this year.
Okay, before we get into the holiday solo, because now I'm going to have to ask you a bunch of questions about that.
Yes.
Before we start, why don't you tell me kind of a little bit about Kyle and you and your family?
Yeah. So Kyle and I met, 20 years ago. I was in college. He had just gotten out of the fire academy and was working in the local department. Dated for 6 years before he finally proposed, and we got married. We bought a house. We had 2 kids, 2 dogs, and a cat. We were the pretty little Sonoma County family. He worked his way through paramedic school, through engineer academy, all of the fire world things. Worked multiple jobs to support it because we're a small department and it took years for them to have actual full-time paid positions. So he was part-time for years. I worked full-time. We kind of were ships passing in the night for several years of our relationship, which I feel like is pretty normal for a lot of the fire
Oh, yeah.
world anyway. Yeah, we have 2 boys who both want to be firefighters because of dad. He was the health and wellness guru for the department. He really spearheaded getting better equipment in, the washers for the turnouts in each station, getting meal plans going, getting physical therapists and yoga classes and bringing different type of exercises into the actual stations to try to get these guys healthier and get better habits. And he was very much an advocate for longevity and being healthy and being able to stay active and on duty as long as you possibly can. um, yeah, so it was definitely a shock. So then he um, passed away the morning of August 16th, 2024. He had a heart attack in the shower on getting ready to go to the station for work for the day. And we're not really sure. He had a little bit of like a flutter. He collapsed in the shower, and then within half an hour, he was conscious and coherent, and he was talking to the firefighters and the EMTs, and he climbed into the ambulance himself, and he was fully aware of what was going on. And then somehow in the 5 minutes of the ambulance ride from our house to the hospital, he passed away. Had a massive heart attack event and passed away before he even got to the hospital, which was a total shock because he was for all intents and purposes, one of the most healthy guys in the department. He was very nutrition focused and he worked out, and he installed a sauna in our garage because he heard about, how healthy it was to sweat out the toxins. Yeah, so that
Oh
was
my
definitely a
gosh.
shocker. That was a hard one. Yeah, and he had been to the hospital a couple of years before that. He had a slight arrhythmia that he had checked out, and they discharged him, said it was nothing, he's fine. It was probably just a stress thing, whatever, after a tough call. But yeah, he had no pre-existing heart condition. There was no history, no family history of heart conditions. This was totally, totally unexpected. And he was only 43. So it was
Yeah. No
definitely the
warning,
last
nothing.
one we expected to happen. Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. I'm so sorry. How are you now? I mean, it's only been 2 years, not even 2 years, right?
Yeah, it's about a year and a half now. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, he passed away in August, literally a week before our oldest's birthday. Uh,
Ugh.
Logan is 11 now, but it was 5 days before his birthday. Yeah, so that was hard. He definitely had a harder time losing dad. Not really missing out on his birthday, but that definitely was like, oh, I didn't get a birthday party, but it's because dad's gone. Like it wasn't because we didn't want to celebrate you. So he had a hard time. There was a lot of support from the fire department. They really circled the wagons from day one. The entire department showed up at the hospital. They got the boys set up with a Giants game we went to Disneyland and they got to meet the Disneyland fire department unofficially. So the boys really got a lot of the support to help process and move through it, however a 10-year-old and a 4-year-old can. Yeah, I mean, where this year was definitely harder. I know a lot of the online things say the second year is definitely harder and, grief doesn't get better. It really the second year was a lot harder. The
Tell
year
me
of
why.
firsts. So the first year, the holidays are what, 3 months after he passed, so there was still a lot of motion, a lot of things. We had the funeral was in September, but then we had memorials and the station was there and we were still dealing with all of the insurance and the CalPERS and there was so much that still had to be done and processed. So the first year wasn't so bad because we had so much support and so many people were just there full time to make sure we were okay for the first year. And then this year, it definitely, the support's still there if I ask for it, but it's definitely less in our face. I need to be better about asking for it, but it was much more lonely this year
Mm,
and kind of, okay, we have to figure this out on our own. We don't have a whole department and family and everybody coming in and out and taking shifts and feeding us and making sure I've showered and, making sure the boys get to school. That
yeah.
part was definitely harder.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I just had an episode with Kaylee Valenta. Her husband passed away from
Yeah,
cancer.
I watched that one.
And
Mhm.
she said, similar to what you're saying, is like the first couple of months, everybody's helping. There's like an overwhelm of just constant people in your life. And then when the dust settles, that's when you kind of really realize like, okay, wait, I am I am gonna have to do this alone.
Yeah.
I am gonna have to figure this out. And that's when you, I think, really start understanding the scope of grief and actually
Mhm.
starting to process it, right?
Yeah.
Um, so the department is still helpful, but more so when you ask.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's I I feel really lucky. His department was Rancho Adobe Fire. They were one of the smaller remaining sort of rural departments. And this was their first line of duty death ever. So it was definitely a learning experience for them as well. There was sort of
Definitely.
an outdated protocol, and everyone's kind of trying to figure out what to do and where to go and how to do it. So it was learning for everyone, but the support we had from them, and to this day, we would not be where we are right now without how close they have been and how amazing and supportive and helpful. We went to the Colorado Memorial. Kyle got inducted on the wall, the national wall, in
Hmm.
Colorado. It's September of this year, and then we did the Sacramento one 2 weeks later as well. So I've met a lot of families, widows, grieving, and the spectrum of support that they've had from departments or lack of support really kind of shocked me.
Yep.
I get it, bigger departments, you are a little bit more of a cog in the giant wheel, but we are doing a lot better, I think, than we could be because we had that whole first year and all of the support and them really stepping up and just doing things for us so we could take the time to really grieve and process earlier.
Yeah.
And,
Helpful.
there were a couple of women that I met there that they couldn't even get a hold of their association representative to meet them there. They were there completely alone.
Oh,
Or they had seen them at the airport and then they were on their own for the rest of the week. And I have never attended a single ceremony, memorial, any fire related thing without a full crew of guys showing up with us and for us. And there's no way I could have done that alone. And it's crazy to think that there's women out there that had to. So I consider ourselves very, very lucky to have such a great department to be there from day one.
yeah. I think it is,
Yeah.
I mean, I say it all the time. It's a blessing and a curse to have such a small department, right?
Mhm.
My husband's department is very small. There's only 36 crew, 3 stations, so it's very, very small. And, the experience that I've had is when there's been a critical incident amongst, like, the families has been amazing. But it's also a curse because they're small and, there's lots of intricacies that come with that.
Yeah.
Um, Lots of gossip. No.
Yes.
But
Always.
there's lots of gossip with those big departments too. They just don't know who
Mhm.
everyone is, right? It's different. I think the family is different. Just the aspect of it is so different. And it also depends on, the chief too and the city and if they're supportive, I think. So um tell me about Kyle, like away from the uniform.
Kyle was one of those guys. He was born and raised in Sonoma County. He never left. He was just one of those guys with that energy and that he did mountain biking. He did 100 mile. He decided he wanted to do 100-mile road race one time, so he trained for a couple months and then did a 100-mile bike race. And um, he loved fishing. He was a Warriors fan and a 49er fan and Giants. He was that guy, whatever sport the kids wanted to start playing, he would go out and watch some YouTube videos if he didn't know how to do something, then he'd be in the backyard with them every night, practicing, training, learning technique, helping him out. He was positive to a fault. It was really amazing though. He was the motivational guy for everybody in his life, not just the department, not just us. Everybody that met him. Oh, Freaking it was Kyle, Kyle was amazing. He loved cheesy 90s rap and country and, he was a big music guy. He loved to just exist, our favorite nights were just sitting on the porch on the backyard, drinking a beer, listening to music, watching the sunset, or doing a fire pit and just kind of hanging out. He just quality time meant everything to him. And I think part of that because he worked so much. So, when they're trying to decide line of duty death, they look at everything, including, total hours worked. And the last 6 months of his life, he had worked 80% of the time, which means he was home with us for 20% of the last six
Oh
months,
my
and that was it.
gosh. A lot of overtime.
Between, yeah, Mandos, overtime, strike teams, it was unfortunately with a small department, you also get screwed
Yep.
with Mandos more because
Totally.
there's less options and
Yep.
it was a lot. So the rare times we had him home for 24 hours, he wanted to hang out and have family time and, not do a whole ton of stuff. But yeah, he was and anywhere we went, people knew him. He would always run into someone from high school or somebody that he knew that he met one time at the mechanic shop and they're best friends now. It's just he was that kind of energy.
Mhm.
And
Those Bay Area
he was
kids, man.
right. Seriously, yeah. He was the extrovert to my introvert, so it was always a good balance because he forced me out of my comfort zone, and, I tried sometimes to reel him in a little bit, didn't always work, but yeah, we were a good balance, I feel like, yeah.
So you said earlier that the both of the boys wanna be firefighters. What does that feel like for you?
Terrifying a little bit,
Mhm. Yeah.
but also really proud, it's they have a harder time, I think, finding ways to I got a tattoo for him, we've had bumper stickers made, we've had we've done a lot of little things to keep his name a lot and, his memory and all that, and I think that's something that both boys have kind of landed on of like, "Oh, well, if I become a firefighter, then that's me keeping
That's their
dad
time with
alive,
dad.
doing this
Mhm.
thing for dad long
Mhm.
term."
Mhm. Oh, god.
Who knows if it'll stick, but yeah, that's what they've both sort
That's
of leaned toward for now. Yeah.
where they're at right now. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's heavy.
Yeah.
I mean, as a mom,
Ooh,
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah. I
It's better. For a while, my oldest wanted to be like some special ops sniper military guy. So I'll take fire.
sounds safer, okay?
Yes, yes, good with that. I'll take that.
Oh my
But
gosh.
yeah, it's scary. Yeah, it's definitely. Um, Kyle for a while had wanted to go to a bigger department. He wanted San Francisco. He wanted something bigger, more action for a period of his career, and then he realized how much more dangerous that is, and there's a lot more politics and a lot more danger that goes into the bigger departments. So I think he really settled into I can make a difference locally. I can have a voice and I can protect my guys here at the smaller station level if I stay here. So I think yeah, he definitely this was his space and he loved it. Yeah.
Okay. So tell me how your identity has changed since losing Kyle.
I don't even honestly recognize myself anymore, and not necessarily in a bad way. It forced me, I mean, from day one, it forced me out of my shell. It was a very public death, a very public funeral. There was in the local newspaper, there were pictures of me everywhere, pictures of him everywhere. He was such a big local community name and voice that everybody knew him. So it
Mhm.
definitely pushed me out of my comfort zone of, okay, if I'm going to go out in public, people are going to recognize me or they're going to want to say something because it's Kyle's widow. And um, I spoke at his funeral, and that was the first time I had done public speaking probably since high school. So definitely, yeah. So that was terrifying talking to a giant auditorium of however many hundreds of people were there. And um, we really, from day one, it was okay. What would Kyle want me to do? How would Kyle want me to handle this? What would Kyle do if it was me? So it really, he's made me really not find myself, but I've grown. I've let myself grow. I've let myself have the breakdown moments, but realize that there's bigger things. And his death has inspired a lot. Even in his department, we had one of his close friends went in to get a deeper checkup. He went to see a specialist. Turns out he was having heart issues, and he had a double bypass surgery the next week because they found something that he would have just ignored. But because of Kyle, ended up having open heart surgery. He's back at work. He's fine now.
Wow.
And I've heard there have been a few stories like that. That oh man, Kyle made me really second guess my own health. And, we've had guys that have dodged bullets. Not even in his department. There was a sheriff that knew about him and found something and had a surgery and had it corrected because of Kyle. Um,
So
he's
even in
inspired a
his
lot.
death, he's still inspiring them, which
Mhm, and that
is
inspires me to wanna keep doing I'm part of the department's association now, so I attend their meetings and, trying to be a part of deciding change and keeping that going, trying to keep the health and wellness stuff moving forward and, making sure these guys are staying healthy. We always had a very basic workplace physical. It was the DMV physical basically just to keep
mhm.
working. And there's more of a push. Some of the older, less healthy guys don't necessarily want to do it, but making it a more extensive physical, making them do stress tests and, you know, do more of these things to make sure you are actually legitimately physically capable of doing this job and it doesn't take you out on duty.
Yes.
Um, yeah, so he's definitely and that's braver than I think I have ever been to really start being a voice for things like that,
Yeah.
and for the boys to see it too, that mom isn't falling apart. We have our moments for sure, but mom's doing this for dad because of dad, and we're gonna be okay. And something good comes out of something bad. And Kyle always said to the boys at bedtime if they had a rough day, tomorrow's a new day. It's a new chance to be the best you can be
Oh.
and just make tomorrow count. And that was always, sort of his bedtime mantra with the boys. So we kind of try to keep that, okay, tomorrow's a new day to do something positive for the world, even if it's one person, just for yourself, make a change. So that's what we live by now.
So now you're active with the association,
Mhm.
and you said you just recently got a new job too? So
Yes. So I had worked for Kaiser for 15 years, took a leave after Kyle. I was off for 3 months. Um, basically was denied a longer leave. So it was kind of a you come back full time, you've lost your office, we've changed your position, come back into the office full time at the main hospital, and I couldn't. I had to be home with the boys. So
Mhm.
that was my, okay, cool. Well, then we'll figure something else out. I have to be home and I have to be mom right now. So sorry, bye. So I gave my 2 weeks and, sort of by a miracle, I started going to there's a physical therapy clinic called the Six. And Kyle actually went there for physical therapy for years. And the owner is amazing. I mean, she was one of his best friends. I absolutely adore her. I showed up one day and she gave me a free massage and, she's just checking in. And I told her I just quit my job doing scheduling and payroll for Kaiser. And she said, well, if you want to come help out here, we can always use the help. So I just sort of showed up and never left. And now I'm doing event planning. And we did a women's self defense class last spring. We're doing another one this spring for high school girls. I'm organizing all that. I'm organizing actually a widows retreat for first responder widows this spring at a therapeutic ranch down in Marin. We're in the beginning stages of that. So she's given me this freedom to kind of take the space and run with it. And whatever I need from them, they're totally willing to offer and help and show up. And it's been a great therapeutic space for me too, to be able to do something positive for him and with him. And it's cool. Yeah.
So you're really turning your grief into action.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't know what else to do. Honestly, if I didn't have this, I would be a puddle. And they always say, "You're so strong," and, "Oh my gosh, it's so great to see you doing this," and I couldn't do that if I were you, and, I hate hearing all of those stereotypical, "You're so strong." It's like, what other choice do I have? Like, I have 2
Mhm.
kids, I have to support them, I have to work, why not find a way to do it that also serves the bigger purpose? I mean, I can't melt down and disappear, and I have to keep going, we all have to keep going, so I
Yeah.
make the best of it.
What would you say
Mhm.
to not to those people who say like, "Oh, you're so strong." Like, what would you want them to say instead of that?
Honestly, just, like, "I see you."
Yep.
It's the grief never goes away. It's never gone away. I mean, I'll be driving and I'll hear the intro of a song or I'll see a billboard, and I'll just burst into tears. Like the grief is always there, just under the surface. So for people to acknowledge that yes, it's still really hard and it really sucks, but like, I see you. Like that's great that you're doing something. Not that you're so strong, but just yeah. I mean, I get so mad at him when they announced the new Stranger Things, the final season. I was like, I can't watch it because that was our show, and I got so mad at him because I was like, I can't sit down and watch this without you. It's not fair. He's not gonna get to see the finale. What the like things
Yeah.
like that, like, get to me, and then it's like, I shouldn't be sobbing over a TV series that I haven't even seen because you're not here to see it with me, and that's stupid. But, things like that hit me super hard still, and so the grief is always there. It's never not I mean, it's
But
every
it's
single day.
but it's not stupid. That's you. It's not stupid.
Yeah, yeah,
It's grief, and it shows up in indescribable ways sometimes, and
yeah.
but it's good of you to acknowledge that and be pissed off at him, I think,
Yeah.
it's beyond your control, so all of your feelings are totally valid, I think. Oh man.
We have this
Um,
stupid like, a week after he passed, we have a string of lights in our hallway, and one of the light bulbs started to flicker, never went out, but it still flickers every once in a while, and the boys decided that was dad. So if it
uh-huh.
flickers, they'll like, "Hey, dad, how's it going?" And now I have this, like, deep-seated panic. If that light bulb ever fully burns out, I it can't ever burn out. I'm gonna have to figure out a way to, like, jerry-rig a new light bulb and make it flicker because the boys still are like, "Oh, dad." I'm like, I can't ever lose this flickering light." Like, it's it's so but it's amazing, and I love that the boys still are like, "Oh, yeah, they just walk down the hall. Hey, dad." Like, it's cool to see them
Still talk to
attaching
him.
to something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but also I'm terrified because that light can never burn out. It has to flicker
Honestly,
forever.
I mean, for me, like, and this is how my I think is like, even if you put a new light bulb in there, I bet you it would still flicker.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, I
that's
would like to
that's the
think
way I
so.
would think of it is like maybe it
Yeah,
really is Kyle just sending a little message from,
right.
just saying hi.
Yeah.
I like to think that. So I think if you do have to put a new bulb in, it'll flicker.
Hopefully
It'll
they'll
flicker.
still yeah, I'd like to think so. But I do also I'm very grateful for the Fire family, and I wish there was a way to spread that to the bigger departments and, even the smaller ones. You never know what's gonna happen when, and we were always fire family before, but after this, it brought everybody closer. More of the guys started hanging out outside and, it was, I don't wanna say a bonding experience, but it kind of was because it made the guys realize just, like, they're with each other more than us. I have a best fireway friend, and we always joked that, the firehouse has full custody, and we just get visitation rights once in a while. It's very much like they are family, and, the families have to find a way to also support each other on the outside. When we're in Sonoma County, the worst fire area in however many years, and, we've really leaned on each other for childcare, for support, for whatever when these guys are gone for weeks at a time at the California fires. So it sounds so cliche that, fire family is so important, but it really is. And it makes me sad to see some of these departments that just doesn't exist because I don't know how we would survive without it, honestly. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
it's so important.
It is. It's so interesting to me too. I mean, it goes back to, again, like what I said before, is it kind of depends on the chief. I think they set the tone really for the department and whether or not the family's going to be um, integrated into the job. There's so many. Oh, we could have a whole podcast on this.
Oh yeah. Yeah, all of the funeral, I might get crap for this, but, the entire funeral process, everything, was done despite the chief, not with the chief. And I
No, I
think
think
that
that's
bonded
great.
our guys a lot more because they were like, "Well, chief isn't gonna be involved, like, we're gonna do it, we're gonna take this on, we're not gonna let them, fall through the cracks, like, he's not gonna be here, we're just gonna take it over and do it all."
Which I think is
I think that
honestly
was
great. Yes. I think that
Mhm.
if your department is strong enough to just say, "We don't," and I'm not saying this to, like, defy your chief, anybody, okay? I'm just saying, like,
But
if you
yeah,
know
we don't need you.
yeah, if you know that the chief is not gonna be involved, you should still do it anyways. Like,
Yeah.
not in
Mhm.
a defiant way, just in a family way, right?
We're
And
still gonna do this, yeah.
yeah, our
Yeah.
crews need each
Mhm.
other, like, despite your presence.
Right.
It's shitty reality, but it is reality. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I
And
would
then
love
it feels
yeah,
gross when they show up for the photo ops and the politics side of it, and, "Oh, look how great we handled the situation." It's like, "Well, you didn't actually do any of it, but thanks for showing up to take the credit," like that.
totally,
And
totally.
sometimes that bonds the crews way more in that, like, "Well, okay, we know what we did," and yeah, yeah.
Okay, um, if Kyle could hear you right now, what would you say to him?
Ooh, I just hope he's proud of us.
Girl, you're gonna make me cry.
Sorry.
No, it's
I was
okay.
like, "I've got this, I'm good today,
Remember what
I'm
I
good,"
said,
but
like,
no, no.
no, it's okay to cry. I'm a
Um,
crier, so I think everybody's seen me cry at this point. Like,
right.
just is what it
I
is?
I would thank him for making me as strong as I am. He was always so proud. He was my person. And he would tell anybody who'd listen, "Rachel's amazing, like, she's a strong fire wife, like, I know I can trust her to handle things when I'm gone for these long things." He never doubted my ability to run the show when he was gone, and he was so proud of that. So I would love to think that he's still proud of the fact that, despite all of this, we're plugging away, we're still doing okay because we have to, and, I know
Mhm.
he'd be okay if I wasn't okay, but I know he's glad that I am. Um,
Yeah,
I
definitely.
want him to see how much the boys are growing into him. I mean, they're both in their own ways mini him, and it's really cool to see that, and I hope he can see that side of them, constantly talking about him and Logan, the older one, was with me alone in the car the other day, and, he's like, "I feel really bad for Parker because he was so little when dad died. I don't think he's gonna remember him when he's older. I got all this time with him, and, um, you know, it just sucks for him." I was like, "Well, yes, it does, but also now it's your job as the big brother, tell him the stories, show him the pictures. It's just because he doesn't physically remember him, he's still everywhere in our house." The fire department built these gorgeous shelves where his helmets and his ashes and his 2 of the 5,000,000 American flags we have from all the ceremonies are, standing. So there's dad everywhere in this house, and there's no way anybody's ever gonna forget him. So it's I think he'd be very proud of how the boys are also absorbing it and growing because of him. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
are
And we're doing a
doing
lot. Oh, created a new family program for the department. They have all the new hire training stuff, but they've never had anything for the families or the, parents or the girlfriends or so I actually created a new hire program orientation for the significant
what?
others and the families. And, it's okay. This is what the Mando schedule looks like. This is what strike teams mean. This is, you can't just come by the station whenever you want and visit. You can't come by for dinner every night. This is the expectation when they're in engineer academy or if they're studying for a pump test or if, sort of the realistic expectation of what being in the fire world looks like.
Girl,
Especially
you
for
need
these
to
younger
send
guys
me
with
these. I need to
girlfriends.
look. I need to see this.
Right, and it's like you see these cute young little girls and, "Oh, my boyfriend's a firefighter," and they think it's so glamorous, and it's like, "Okay, but you need to understand, they're gonna miss especially if they're the new guy, they're gonna miss every holiday for the first few years. They're gonna, seeing birthdays, Christmases. I mean, we didn't have our first actual Christmas day together until Logan was, I don't know, 6 or 7, and we always
Mhm.
did a different day, it's stuff like that that people don't realize they miss out on all the big things most of the time, and
Yep.
resources and just where to find, how to find, EAP, how to find, if they get hurt, the workers' comp information, stuff even the guys don't necessarily know, but somebody needs to be able to get in the right direction. Um, so I really I have taken this on as my mission to help families and trying to find resources after he passed was such a labyrinth of go to this website and try this and oh well there's these scholarships but you need to know where to find them and who to contact and there's no one easy access place for resources for any of it, um, which is really frustrating. We got lucky and people pointed us in the right direction, but there really isn't a one-stop shop to find everything that you could need in something like this. So I'm really trying to, at least for our small little corner of the world, try to create something like that so, people know where to go for stuff.
I mean, that is literally life-changing for someone
Mhm.
because, I mean, I say this all the time. If I had any of this information 15, 18 years ago, even 10 years ago, it would have been so much easier. I think it would have been so much easier to navigate this little part of our life that is not so
Yeah,
little, um,
right.
because you're right. What is like, they're gone for a third of our kids' lives, right? Our life.
Mhm.
The other part is with the department. So it becomes a huge part of you. And if you don't know the basics,
Yeah,
it's way more complicated for the spouse and the kids than anybody thinks.
yeah.
And I think it's a very good thing that, people like you and me are finally sharing that the people behind the badge are just as important as those people that are wearing the badge. Because at the end of the day, as you know, that shit falls on us to keep everything moving. Like
Yeah.
quite literally with you, that shit fell on you.
Mhm.
And it's it's so important for people to realize, oh shit, that spouse and those kids really do matter. And that
Mhm.
person, that partner needs to have this information. Even just the basic information is
Yeah.
life changing.
I mean, yeah,
So,
even having insurance information,
yep.
having something just like your dental number, there's so much stuff
Yes.
that I didn't even I mean, I felt like we were pretty good with our documentation and sharing, and I kind of managed everything anyway, but there was so much and so many accounts and so many things that I was like, "I didn't even know he had that.
Yep.
I don't know how to access that." Having open communication just with not even necessarily finances, but, having a living will, having having all of that stuff. We were lucky, we set up a trust a few years ago. So everything was already in writing. And I mean, it's just me. It's not like there's anyone else stuff was going to, but it was really nice to have that legal document just done. And that
Hmm.
was one less hoop to jump through. But having everything tied up and ready just in case, you never know. And it's I mean, I spent weeks. There's still some weird random account that I can't figure out what is or where it is. And, just trying to cancel account and he'll get mail for something. Like, I didn't even know he had an account with that, but okay, now let me call them and just send a death certificate and go through the whole process again for every single thing that his name was
Ugh,
on,
God.
is insane. It's exhausting. So yeah, the more families can have the open communication and documentation and even just joint names on accounts, it's a lot easier to just remove them than it is to switch completely over. And it's
Yes.
stuff you don't think you ever want to have to deal with until you do. And
Yes.
it's crazy. But yeah,
But necessary.
yeah, absolutely necessary. Yeah.
And I mean, even though, like you said, you had all of that information, there's still so much that you don't know you are going to have to deal with. So why not
Yes.
take that one thing and make that one a little bit easier rather
Mhm.
than being completely snowballed? It's
Right. Even
just
the DMV with the dumbest thing, the DMV, I had to take his name off the vehicles. I went in, I took everything in, had everything I needed, went in, and it was literally, I guess you can't change anything after death before 90 days post to death. So I went in, it was like 85 days after he died. And she's like, sorry, I can't help you. You have to come back in 5 days. I'm like, he's not gonna be less dead in 5 days. Can I just handle this now? And she's like, "Nope, it's policy." I'm like, "What?" "Okay, but a death is a death." And
why?
they literally sent me home and they're like, "Sorry, you have to come back after the 90 days." I'm like, "He's not gonna be less dead. What?" It's crazy the things that they make you wait or hold off or do or don't do. And I'm like, I can't, I'm just trying to get his name taken off the car, so it's one less thing on my list. And she's like, "Sorry, nothing I can do about it yet."
Cool
"Okay,
DMV.
thanks.
Thanks.
Thanks for that." Yeah, yeah.
Jeez. Oh
It's
my God.
crazy. Yeah, it's absolutely insane, yeah,
Note to
and we
self.
got really
Okay.
lucky. We got a lot of donations, which was life-saving because it also took us over a year. I wanna say it was 14 months by the time we finally got the line of duty death approved and benefits to be paid. So
Oh,
more than a year of us surviving,
going back
living
and
off
forth.
of donations and my buyout from work, and, I mean, it's crazy to think and we got lucky, it moved she said it moved faster than it typically does, but it was over a year of us not seeing anything from his benefits,
That's
and
faster than
the
normal?
number of interviews and the number of forms and proof they needed to try to verify the line of duty death, was insane, absolutely insane. So, not only are you dealing with your grief and trying to still live and survive, you now have to fight that your husband's death was work related, and that sucked, and we had a really great lawyer that helped with the workers' comp piece of it, but, to have to fight and get a number and have them tell you, "This is the dollar amount we think your husband's life was worth, let us know what you think." Like, that was a surreal experience of, how do I put a number on his life and what's gonna help set my kids up for the future, and I get that it's a business, but it's so that's not the time to be so sterile about it, and it was really
Totally.
that was an interesting experience to really have to sit down and say, "No, I think he's worth more money. Let's go back to the table." That was a little crazy.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. Oh,
Yeah.
jeez.
That was
Things
yeah,
you
some of the
don't ever
stories.
think about though, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
ugh.
absolutely. It's
Oh my
crazy.
God. Ugh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, last question. I ask everybody this. I'm gonna ask two different versions of this. What do you want Kyle's legacy to be, and what do you want your legacy to be?
I want Kyle's legacy to be one of community and positivity, um, and health and wellness. That was what he did. That's what his passion was, health and safety and happiness. I want people to always remember him as, fucking Kyle. I can't say it. So
You can say
that was,
fuck. Okay, we swear on this.
yes. Oh, thank God. Okay. Kyle, bless his heart, was a good project starter and not necessarily finisher. So there was always, we would see something, it would be like, fucking Kyle. Like, there's a fucking Kyle thing again. Fucking Kyle's got to live forever.
I love
But
it.
yeah, he was such a positive health first kind of person, and I hope his legacy is that, you're never too young and you never know what's coming, and your health needs to come first and take it seriously. Take the weird heart flutters or the murmurs or the things seriously, and set yourself up. And of course, things are always going to happen. You never know when it's your time, and there's nothing you can do about it. But to at least be as aware as you can and
Yep.
make the most of life and go out with no regrets if you can. That's
And
yeah.
how about
And
your
he had
legacy?
oof.
I mean, you're kind of building your legacy right now. I think,
Yeah.
um,
I mean,
everything that you're doing is tremendous. Um, but what do you think, like, what would you want your legacy to be like for the boys, for your kids?
I think I'd want the boys to remember me as somebody who didn't give up, was constantly advocating for what's right. Ooh, this is a hard one.
It is. Mhm.
Um, yeah, I want them to remember that I showed emotion when I needed to. I don't, it's interesting because I'm sorry to sidetrack a little bit again, but the department was always very most of the department, and a lot of them are very old school. You don't go to therapy, you don't talk about it, you don't cry, you don't acknowledge the bad calls after they're done. And there was a lot of therapy, a lot of big emotions that came out from these guys that are, older, very old school, very, suck it up and move on. And there's a huge shift in just the energy and the culture in the department. And I absolutely love that, and I hope that stays. I know it's not my legacy, but I really hope, that that's where fire and police, all of it really needs to be shifting.
Yeah.
That, that mental and emotional is just as important as the physical. And I'd love for some of my legacy to be help pushing that forward. And the clinic I work for now is big on that. We're full service. We do physical therapy, we have behavioral therapy, we do massage, we do acupuncture, and PEMF, and all of these things to help heal the whole body and soul, and change that culture that it's okay to say you're hurt, or your brain isn't right, or something's happening, or you're emotional, or that call stuck with you a little too hard and you need some support. Um, I really my push is for more people to think it's okay to get help.
Yeah. That is a great legacy. And okay, so you're working for the 6, and
Yes.
it's in Sonoma County, right?
Yeah, we're in Santa Rosa. We're actually looking at expanding to a bigger physical location, because we are blowing up. We have contracts with some local fire departments. We had a contract with the Sonoma County Sheriff's Office. We do site visits to stations, and we do yoga, Pilates, manual therapy, all kinds of things. We're
I
really
love it.
trying to get out there. And our owner is Sonia McVeigh, is this like amazing. She's one of those magnetic people that people just find her, and she does great things, and she doesn't even try. It just kind of happens.
Mhm.
So it's
Mhm.
it's really kind of cool to be in that aura. And her goal is to just be as available and open to as many people as humanly possible, and it's been really cool. Yeah.
Okay, we will make sure to leave the link for the 6 in the show notes.
Awesome.
Um,
Thank you.
I
Yes.
think I've actually talked to Sonia before. I have. She
Probably.
was on
Yeah.
a previous podcast.
Hmm.
Um, might have to get her on this one because I
Yes.
forgot all about that place, but I know it's
Yeah.
doing some really cool things even back in the
Yes.
day. Um,
Hmm. Yeah.
any final thoughts? Any last words?
I am so grateful. I will always be grateful for the fire community. And honestly, even your podcast, there were a few episodes that I listened to right after Kyle that really sort of struck a chord. And it's nice to see that community come together and be there and be available. And
Yes.
yeah, it's amazing. I know it's a podcast can change the world, and it's been really great to see you be a part of this. And yeah, just thank you for everything you do too. I mean, you're a great voice of reason, I feel like, most of the time. And
Most of
thank you
the
for what
time.
you do. Right.
Sometimes
A lot of
I'm
our
an
days, but
asshole, okay? Like
we all have those days. It's fine. Yeah.
No, it's, surprisingly been one of my greatest joys. I never thought I would find so much, just, like, passion in this little passion project. It's,
Mhm.
kinda changed my life, and I am so grateful and so humbled to be able to talk to you and talk to other spouses and, um, you know, culturally competent therapists and all of the, amazing, nonprofits out there that are changing lives and really trying to change the fire service and first responders in general
Mhm.
just for the better. Um, it's just it's so amazing to me to see, um, the work that's been done in the last couple of years, and I'm just happy to be
Mhm.
part of it in any small way, and, do my best.
Yeah,
People don't
yeah,
always agree with me, and that's okay, like, we say that all the
yeah,
time, like, it's
yeah.
but I think for the most part, the message is the same for all of us, right? It's like, we just wanna make the service better, and we just wanna make people understand, like, the family behind the badge is very important,
Mhm.
and we will not be silenced anymore. No.
Well, and it's
It's
crazy, it's I think after he passed, somebody had said, like, 45% of firefighter deaths are heart related, um, which is an astronomical percentage to me. I
mhm,
mean, that's crazy to me. So it's just being aware of that and taking care of yourself and as the family to also be an advocate for that and push your first responder to, get checkups, take care of themselves too, and that's huge, and, I
totally.
know the families behind the badge already manage everything, but putting a priority on health and wellness is so important.
Yep, yep,
Yeah.
and making sure you have your living trust and the will and the life insurance and all those things.
All of the things. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
It's a pain in the
so
butt, but it's so worth it. Yeah.
Yep, totally. It's totally worth it. Yep. All right, Rachel. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. We will put the six
Yeah. Thank
info
you.
in the show notes because
Awesome. That'd be
it's
great.
amazing. And then I am so grateful for you coming on and chatting with me today. And
Thank you
thank you
so
for
much for
being so
having me.
vulnerable. I know it's uncomfortable, but you
I've
did
gotten
amazing.
really good and uncomfortable in the last year,
I
so
know.
I got this. It's fine.